Hey guys, do you work in emergency medicine? An absolutely crazy and intense environment where you see things every day that a regular person doesn't see once in their entire life? You feel burned out, unappreciated, like there's no one you can talk to about the things you are struggling with? Well, you are not alone. I have a bunch of real professionals with real stories here with me today that can relate to your struggles. I've struggled with burnout, discouragement, frustration many times and still struggle with it. My name is Aaron. I've been in emergency medicine for 15 years as an EMT paramedic and now emergency medicine PA, and I am the host of Practical EMS Podcast. And with that, I will introduce my guests and we will get started.
So we had a gal, her first call in the field training, her first day in field training, she delivered a baby. She's an EMT. Listen, I've delivered a lot of babies, and that's one of my favorite things to do.
It's one of my least favorite things to do.
Yeah, you and Eddie Baker. You know Eddie Baker. You know Eddie.
What's that?
You know Eddie Baker.
Yeah.
Well, I got a great baby story for him.
Yeah.
All right, we're live on my end, guys.
Anyway, so this gal delivers this baby in her first shift, and we were talking afterwards, and she says, "What would you do?" And I said, "I would tell you this: get a journal."
Yeah.
I said, "Get a journal," and I said, "Make a page on there for just babies.
Just babies.
Date, sex. Date, sex." And I said, "When you deliver one, put the date and put the sex." I said, because if I had that, I would have 36 of those in the last, 47 years that I've been doing this. And I said, I would love to know the days and the sexes of those. How many girls I've delivered, how many boys I've delivered.
Yeah.
Eddie's got a great story.
I've only delivered one, but I've been around a lot.
Yeah.
But my partner was going 90 down the street. 2 rules: no death and no multiplication in the ambulance. That's it. But this was like her 10th. Yeah. So we knew that kid was
So
just
about 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. No, like this was the first sentence out of her mouth. Every time I've delivered, it's in the back of the ambulance. No, the fuck it isn't. So my old partner, he did not like kids. If you hand him a placenta, he turns white. And my old partner was black. So he just becomes white. So I look at him, I'm like, get me to the fucking hospital. So we finally get there, that the middle hospital where all your stretchers is and you swap the blankets out.
Yeah.
Partner leaves because you need that multi-pass to get up to L&D, right? Yeah. This woman looks at me. She's like, "Sir, I really have to push." Verbatim, I said, "I would rather you not, but you do what you need to do." She goes, I look down, head, umbilical cord, shoulders, chest, kids out. I'm like, "Oh, fuck." So I get the cord off easy. And then my partner's like, "Nate." I'm like, "Mike." He's like, "Kids out." And I'm like, "Yep." He's like, "Ew." I'm like, "Help me." This is not a test. This is the real deal.
So this is while you're waiting to go up to L&D.
Yep.
They pop the baby out.
Yep. And then we had a fire rider with us. He was new too. He goes pale. He's like, "What do you need?" "Lower the stretcher. I guess I'm delivering the kid." We go right into the recess room. And then I'm sitting there just holding this kid. And I'm like, "So we're out." And then you see the cord go in, and I'm just holding this little worm. L&D nurse comes, "I'll take him. Go for it." and then the kid pees on her. I was like, "You couldn't wait 5 minutes."
Can I tell my Eddie story?
Yeah, tell your Eddie story.
All right.
Put the microphone in front of your face, though.
Okay. So Eddie, you know him because he works in the ER, and you'll know him because you'll work with him in the ER.
Yeah.
Anyway, he used to be a paramedic on the street, and he worked for us, and he worked for a couple of different fire departments. And one of them was way south of town, and I saw him one morning. He was walking out of your hospital, and he's coming down the ramp, and I was going up the ramp, and I said, "Hey, Ed, how you doing?" He goes, "I almost had to deliver a goddamn baby." And he hates that.
Yeah.
Shit and babies. He can't stand it. So he says, "Yeah, so we're out here. We're driving up here." And he goes, "We're out here on the I."
Yeah.
And he goes, she goes, "I got to push. Don't you push. I got to push. Don't you push. I got to push. Don't you goddamn push." He goes, "What are you going to do? You're going to have this thing out here on I-25? What are you going to name it? Mile marker 138? Like, oh, man. And they got in the hospital, and she delivered in trauma bay.
In trauma bay.
Yeah.
Oh
I have a story about a baby getting delivered. So
go for it.
This was not close to the center of town at all, like pretty far out. And
like buttfuck Egypt.
Yeah. So we're going out to this call, and this truck's pulled over to the side of the road. You know, of course, the dispatch info is like, she probably delivered. There's probably 2 patients there. And so we pull up, and the mom is sitting in the passenger seat holding the baby, and the dad's not wearing a shirt outside of the truck, just vomiting at the back of the truck. Not even close. He's just puking his brains out. And I was like, yeah, that's why we didn't want to deliver the baby.
That's why I didn't want to do it either.
Fortunately, she did all the work, apparently.
Yeah.
Anybody else have baby delivery stories?
I got a bunch of them.
Remember the first time I saw it?
The last
I almost swapped teams for a second. I was like,
the last one I had, I picked up the lady at an urgent care south of town and south side of town, and Vince, you know him, he's paramedic.
Yeah.
He worked in the ER and he worked on the ambulance and stuff. And I walked in and he was working in the urgent care, and he said, "I told him to call you." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, this she's in labor, hard labor," and I said, we're thinking 28 weeks. And I'm like, not good. And so the nurse practitioner, she had been out on maternity leave herself, been gone for a long time. And she'd worked in the ER as a nurse practitioner. Now she's at the urgent care. And Amber's on the phone with the doc line. And I walk in, I said, "What's going on?" She goes, "I can't get the doc line to tell me where they want her to go." And I said, "She's going to the hospital that's on the north side of town next to the children's hospital. It's right next to it." And so she goes, "Awesome." She goes, "When they call back, I'll tell them the paramedic made the decision." I was like, "Okay." So she hangs up the phone. And this lady is a Spanish speaker only, right? And so,
Dios mío.
And so I've got a student with me, and my EMT partner, she's like, "Can I ride in the back?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care." So it was Sammy. We get in the ambulance and we take off, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to take time because we're going all the way across town." So we get on the I light it up, and we're going. And so we exit, and on the street that goes.
I might pick it up.
I'm sorry. We're on the exit going towards the hospital there, and Sammy goes, "Excuse me." I went, I'm driving.
No.
She goes, "Yes." She goes, "Her water just broke." And I went,
You might want to catch.
I went, "Okay."
Yep, settle on the right.
And a block, not even half a block later, she goes, "Excuse me, we're having a baby." And I went, pulled over, and I opened the back doors, and there's this little purple butt looking at me.
Oh.
And I went,
God.
"Oh, God."
That's bad.
Frank Breach,
Yeah.
purple ass, and it's about that big. And all of a sudden I hear, "Can I help you?" And I went like this. And it was one of our other paramedics who's a CES. He's the lead field training officer now, Jim. And he goes, "I saw you running hot." And he goes, "I saw you come off the highway." And he goes, "And then you pulled over all of a sudden." He goes, "I'm thinking one of two things. Either you guys are in a fight or you're delivering a baby." And I went, and he goes, "What can I do?" I said, "Drive." He goes, "Let me go park my Jeep." So in the time that he went to park his Jeep, she pushed and got this baby out.
Oh.
And the baby's like limp
Yeah.
and purple
man.
and icky.
Yeah.
But it didn't smell bad. So I'm
Good,
thinking,
good.
this is okay. And so I'm drying it off and getting it warmed up. And we get headed towards the hospital, and we were within probably half a mile of the hospital when we delivered. So it was great. And we had let them know Jim had got up in front and let the hospital know that we were coming in. And by the time we pulled up to the hospital, the baby's going,
Good.
Thank God.
and I'm like,
Oh, man.
and so the really cool thing is that we came in the doors, and we were going towards the A and B recess rooms, right? And we get going to the left, and I look down to the right, and there's the children's crew coming with isolette, doctors,
all the baby warmers.
Yeah,
And you're like,
yep.
"Oh,
And I'm
I
like,
love you."
Yeah. And they were like high-fiving us and like, "Man, this is great." I talked to a buddy of mine who's a OB-GYN doc here in town. And I said, "Hey, I had a breech delivery, 28-weeker, and survived." And he went,
Yeah.
He goes, I said, what? I said, don't you guys ever deliver breeches? He goes, no.
C-section.
He
No,
said,
I-
we cut them out.
Yeah, C-section.
The wrist, yeah,
He
the
said,
wrist.
every
for that,
time.
yeah.
He said, we never let them deliver natural anymore. And I said, he goes, that's awesome.
That's kind of my point when you said I saw a butt. I said that's where my hand would go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't push. You sit there.
Yeah.
You keep that thing in here
Yeah.
until they cut your belly open.
Well, had a prolapsed cord like that, and we had a new fire paramedic, and she was brand new, and I said, glove up.
Yeah.
And so we got this
Get her
L
in
in the
there.
knee chest position, right? And I said, push that baby back up in there. And I said, hold on to that cord. And I said, if you feel the pulse go away, I said, you need to push harder.
Mhm.
So she's up there for 20 minutes.
Wow.
We get her to the old hospital that was, south of kind of a little teeny hospital. Anyway, and we go in and we used to go in the back door when we have OB patients, and the nurse was like, take her to observation. And I went, hey.
No.
I said, she needs to go to surgery. I said, she's got prolapsed cord. She goes, take her to obs. Okay. So we go to obs, and the doctor, Trudy, she walked in, and she had delivered my daughter maybe a month before, maybe my youngest. And she goes, hey, Case, what's going on? I said,
Problem.
prolapse cord. She goes, the fuck are you doing here? And I said, nurse up there said, bring her to obs. Oh, she gets on the phone. She goes, tell them to get OR whatever ready. And she goes, if you ever question my paramedics again, she goes, we're going to have a problem. She goes, if they tell you that they've got a prolapse cord, you better be calling us right now. And so we get down there, and all this time, the fire medic's like, and she's going, and so we go into the OR and we're standing behind the screen. There's a window, and they get her draped and everything, and they get her knocked down, and Trudy goes, whoosh, and all of a sudden I see that paramedic go, she had not been able to feel her hands for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so she's looking at her hand. And so we talked to her after, and I said, hey, Marianne, what's going on? And she goes, I said, why were you looking at your hand? She goes, all I saw was that scalpel come down, and that baby was gone.
Yeah.
She was fast. She goes, that baby was gone. She goes, I thought she cut my hand off.
Oh shit.
She goes,
So
yeah, crazy.
Everything you hear today from myself and my guests is opinion only. It does not represent any organizations or companies that any of us are affiliated with. The stories you hear have been modified to protect patient privacy, and any resemblance to real individuals is coincidental only. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice nor used to diagnose any medical or health care conditions.
we have a topic suggestion. Miss Jess would like to hear the weirdest call, like unexpected turn. Oh, I got a story for that one. So,
I've got one too.
oh yeah, I got a story for that one. So this was night shift, always is. So we get called for a stabbing. So me and my old partner, cool, stage, wait for PD to clear the area, cool. We were up that way, and then we didn't realize the place was a sex shop until we got in there and we were working. Don't beat me to the best part yet.
What she was stabbed with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get in there. PD's like, "Hey, she's bleeding." Me and Mike, we go in. Cool. So like we're looking at her, and they're like, "Yeah, we already have the person, in custody." Blah blah. Cool. Putting the things down. We're doing the stuff, and then Mike, he goes like, "Nate." I'm like, "What? Nate? What?" He's like, "Where are we?" And I look up. He's like, dildo, vibrator. That Hulk does not go there. Lube. That's a doll. And him and I just stopped. We were like, I need HR. I feel uncomfortable. And then my partner's like, "Girl, you got stabbed in a sex shop. What did you do?" She's like, "I tried to steal a vibrator and I got poked up." And we're like, okay. That was just weird. Just like, this is weird.
So the owner of the sex shop, his technique is to go after people with a knife.
Poker.
Yeah. That $40 dildo
Yeah, dude.
is going to break you.
Yeah, but no, she was poked like center of the sternum.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, and you know what the worst part is? She went to That hospital, she refused care completely. And like literally, like, because they took a picture of her chest because we were worried about that.
Yeah.
The knife went down and like kind of brushed her sternum and missed all of this.
That's awesome.
And we're like, you got lucky.
Yeah.
And then the next day she goes back and beats the owner's ass. We're like, because we recognize the shop now.
What'd she beat him with?
Oh, she beat him with a 6-foot dildo.
Well, of course.
I loved that call. I loved typing the whole report too.
Surprises.
Yeah, right.
I have one really crazy one that I ran a few years ago where we got called out for a cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And it was another one of these like 48-hour shifts I was on. Ran the craziest calls on this shift, but we went out for a cardiac arrest, pull up to this guy's house, normal, nice neighborhood. His garage door is open, which is kind of weird. And so we go in, the back door or the door from the garage into the house is wide open. We go in and this guy's been stabbed to death in his kitchen.
Oh shit.
And you know, like I was letting my paramedic student run the call. So he's like, well, we should start compressions. I'm like, I mean, he's asystole. He's been stabbed. Like, this is a trauma. This is a traumatic arrest. So we do a little bit to work the patient. He stays asystole. And then we're like, this is actually a crime scene we've been tramping over.
Yeah.
The police get there and we're like, we have bloody footprints everywhere. And we're like, oh my gosh, you know, like it settles in like this guy was murdered in here.
Yeah.
And with a broken wooden spoon from his own kitchen, because there's a broken wooden spoon there. And we're like, well, that was weird. We leave the crime scene to the police department. And probably 12 hours later, in the middle of the night, we go to probably like 10 miles over, a totally different part of the county. We get called for a psych patient.
Yeah.
And this gentleman had moved into this family's camper that was sitting out in front of their house. He had just moved his stuff, put his shoes by the front door, lined up his medications on the camper.
Wasn't taking them?
Apparently not taking them.
The usual.
Like, moved into their camper and then went into their house and grabbed a kitchen knife from their kitchen and tried to stab the family to death. And the dad had wrangled this guy and got him under control and called the police department. And we didn't realize it at the time, but this was the guy that had just murdered the guy from earlier.
Oh shit, so he's just walking around.
He's just walking around. And I think this guy's garage door was probably open, and he's like, well, I'm going to go murder that guy. He left his garage door open. But
and he took that
just
personally.
Bizarre case.
And I hate kitchen utensils.
Yeah.
You broke that spoon.
I got one more. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
This one also with night shift. It was also a stabbing, an assault, right? So we were staging. Me and my partner were on our phones, and then I look up. Someone's walking at us. And we're like, crap. So like all you see is like a little bit of blood on his hands. We're like, okay, I wonder if that's the guy. So like PD goes to the apartment complex, and this guy's standing there just talking to us. He's like, yeah, my wife and I got into a little bit of a argument, and he's like, my back just kind of hurts. And we're like, okay. So like Mike's like, Nate, can you look? I was like, yeah. I whipped his shirt up. It looked like the Wolverine cut him open. No, like he had like 40, like legit 30 or 40 just open wounds. And like I remember my mouth, I was just. And he's like, how bad is it? I was like, don't move, because you can see his spine. We were like, don't move.
Gosh.
He's like, yeah, it just kind of hurts. That's called adrenaline. So Mike turns the corner, looks, he's like, oh shit, you got poked up. And we're just like, we get to the, down there. And we're like, yeah, so this happened. A guy just sitting there on the stretcher. We did all the stuff. And they're like, what happened? He's like, he said they got into a tussle and he got cut. How many times? Remove that, a lot of those ABD bandages, you'll see it. And I still remember the surgeon moved it. He's like, oh, you got cut up. He's like, who's your wife? Like, literally, he's like, Wolverine? And then we talked to the officers afterwards. They're like, yeah, it was like a whole slasher bloodbath in the apartment complex.
Sure.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, that one popped up with your.
As you're talking, I could think of half a dozen calls I've ran over the years where somebody's just like they've been stabbed 1,000 times. Sometimes they're alive, sometimes they're dead. But I just locations throughout the town pop into my mind of just bloody, mutilated bodies.
Yeah. I remember one dude was walking around downtown literally stabbing people if they didn't believe in Jesus. I remember that one. He went up, down, up, and he was just poking people. We get on scene and we're like, yeah, he's poked. And one guy's like, I can't breathe. My partner's like, I'm going to have to stab you again. Sorry.
You can't make this stuff up.
Well, being in the ER, I obviously don't have any run stories or anything like that, but there was one from when we were in the old ER before we got the new.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'll never forget this because they brought in 2 traumas and there was enough of us docs in there. So I went in one and one of my partners went in the other one. And so I go in the first trauma bay and this guy's got blood all over him.
Yeah.
And he's conscious, alert, talking. He looks great. I'm like, I look him over. I'm listening to everything, check him out. And I'm like, I don't find any injuries, maybe a couple of cuts on his hand. I said, where in the hell is all this blood from? He's like, I was holding my buddy's guts in on the way over here. I was like,
where's your buddy?
I'm like, whatever. I mean, everybody's so dramatic all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I was holding his guts in and all this shit.
He wasn't kidding.
I go to the trauma bay next door where the trauma surgeon's in there, one of my partners is in there, and I walk in there, I look at this guy. And he's laying there and his entire abdomen's open.
Ooh.
And his intestines were laying on the bed.
Oh, shit.
And I said, well, the guy wasn't full of shit, I guess. He really was holding his buddy's guts in.
Oh, shit.
That's funny.
So do you know how that's on the outside? That shouldn't be
I'm
there.
like, this ain't right. That didn't go well for him.
Did I tell the story last time of the nurse that was at triage that cut the guy's bike shorts?
Yeah,
off?
you did.
Yeah, that was a good one. I had a gal. Oh gosh, she called. We got called for an unknown medical on the west
The
side.
usual.
And we pull up, and there's this girl standing there on the corner, on the curb there, in the parking lot, and she's like this. So she waves. And so we pull over, and I said, "Did you call 911?" Uh-huh. I sure did.
I sure did.
I said, "Where's the patient?" "I'm the patient." "You're the patient?" "I'm the patient."
Okay.
She goes, "You might want to call another ambulance because I might kill my boyfriend." And I said, Oh, okay. Why?
We have to wait till you actually
Now
kill
it's
him
gonna
to
get
call the
good.
second ambulance.
I want to know the
Do you want us to get-
details.
yeah. She goes, "We were having sex," and she goes, "He stuck a vibrator up my butt."
Oh, is it
She
stuck?
goes-
I love vibrator
She
up the butt
goes,
stories.
she goes, "It's gone." I said, "Nothing, no part of it out. Nope, not any."
Oh, you heard
And I
zzz.
said,
They never are.
I said, "Oh, honey." I said, why would you call the ambulance for that?" She goes, "It hurts so bad. I cannot sit down. I cannot sit. There's no way I could sit to go to the hospital." I said, "Okay."
Okay.
She goes, so she's laying on her side and she goes, "My back hurts so bad." She goes, "New batteries." I went, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." So I took my stethoscope and I listened over her sacrum, and it was like, it was angry. It was an angry vibrator. And I went, "Oh, dear Lord." So we took her to one of the hospitals, and one of the docs that was working there, Jack, you would know him. He worked at your hospital and he worked at the other hospital. He had big hands, big fingers.
Big fingers.
He was able to get that thing out.
Attaboy.
It's amazing. That
Yeah.
thing didn't go like a
Yeah.
salmon upstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually what they do.
Yeah. And yeah, he was able to get it out.
Yeah.
But, I was like, oh, dear Lord.
Those are always the funniest stories.
Yeah, for sure.
People sticking stuff where stuff ain't supposed to go.
Like, have a base.
I had a-
or
have
have a
something.
base. Let me educate you. There, you can go
I had a guy
online
in-
and see what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I had a guy in Arizona that called.
At AJ.
No, it was
Oh.
it was in East Mesa though.
Oh, it was amazing.
But it wasn't out in,
That
in AJ that's where they invented the toothbrush.
I learned something new today with
Yeah,
all the other big words.
Well, if they would have invented it anywhere else, they would have called it a teeth brush.
I hate you.
So anyway,
I hate you.
so anyway, we get this call, and the guy meets us, and he goes, "Yeah, I was outside washing off my driveway, and he goes, and I slipped, and he goes, my kids had toys everywhere, and he goes, you know those little footballs." Little plastic footballs? I said, "Yeah." He
Little
goes,
squishy ones?
"It went up my butt." And I went,
Mm-hmm.
"Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, it did." And I
Crazy
went,
how that
I said,
happens.
Crazy.
I said, "Were you out there naked?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Well, it stands to reason that if you would have had shorts on, the ones that you're wearing right now," he's like in running shorts. I said,
Well,
"It looks
done
like you could have just grabbed one side and the other and went like that, and it'd pop that sucker right out of your butt." And he goes,
I didn't think this through very well, did I? I said, no judgment, pal. No
Right.
judgment from me.
The story's not the only thing you didn't think through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I had a guy in a full cat zipper. Full cat zipper BDSM suit. That one caught me
That
off
one we've
guard.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
did
one
talk
caught
about
me
that
off
one
guard.
Yeah. You told that last time.
Yeah, that one caught me off guard.
I don't want to hear it
To
again.
this day, I
don't
still
wanna
want to
hear it again.
know.
I don't want to hear it again.
He was the nicest guy,
Yeah.
too. Just he's the nicest dude. I haven't had a butt call in a long time. Well, no, yeah, I haven't had a butt call in a long time. It's been a while. Like one, it was just the flashlight, a flashlight, and I was with night shift with my old partner, and like we
At least
get.
you had a flashlight.
We see out no, literally. He opens the door and he's like buzzing. Like it looks like he was like literally like a light bug because it didn't turn off. Okay, so like he's walking and I'm like, my partner like Mike was like, I have a guess why we're here, and he was like, I have chest pain. No, you don't. And Mike's like, what's up your ass? And he was like, it's a flashlight. How'd that get there? I fell on it. Did you? Did you? It's okay. There's no judgment.
Yeah.
Right.
But like you're coming with us because I need to tell the doc this. So like he's laying on his side and like literally like we're driving. All I hear is Mike just fucking chum. Like, you're okay? He's like, it keeps turning off and on. And I keep getting blinded.
SOS.
And the doc comes up, like, what's going on? And Mike just moves the blanket and it just shines in the doc's face. He was like, oh. He's like, why didn't you patch it? And he's like, I needed to see your face. He's like, it's a little ladybug. The guy's like, ha, ha, ha. We're like, oh, come on, dude. This is funny as hell. And no, the problem was actually, so where the battery went in, I don't know why he didn't secure the battery. So he actually ended up getting 2nd-degree burns.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in there.
It's a battery.
The battery came out. But after like the call, we're sitting in the ambulance. Mike's like, I don't even know how to type this. And I'm like, start with, we responded emergent. Go from there. It was funny as shit.
Sarah, you got any weird stories?
Come
you
on,
wanna
Sarah.
share?
Come on, Sarah.
What you got?
There really aren't a ton of stories that I remember in the moment. Honestly, I kind of just block them all out, to be quite honest.
It's like you leave work and you're like flush.
Mhm.
100%.
You know,
Any naked store? Everyone's naked.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone naked.
I mean, there's usually the counterparts that are running by, and all you see is half naked.
Mhm.
100%. And you're like, please tell me they've got pants on.
Why you ain't got no drawers on, bro?
But I've had one recently where I was left to my own devices because both the provider and the APP refused to walk into the room where the patient was actively.
That doesn't sound right, but okay.
I circled back that I would appreciate some backup next time where the patient's there for an attempted overdose and they're actively, the doc just looks at me. I'm like, he's shitting in the trash can right now. It's like,
Attaboy, there's a toilet.
well, at least it's in the trash can, not on the
Well,
floor.
that's what
Or in
I'm
his
saying.
hand.
Yeah.
Poo
and
flingers.
I walk in there and the patient just starts screaming at me, you think this is funny,
Oh,
right?
a little bit.
And I'm like, no, not at all. And the security's already there, and the patient just is yelling their head off. And then all of a sudden, you can see it's coming back over them again. And they try to get to the trash can this time, and it just all over the wall. And security backs up, and they're screaming at me. This is why I need privacy. I'm like, you're here because you actively tried to kill yourself. There's no privacy. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Believe me, I would love to give that to you. I'm like, would you like a bathroom? And they're like, yes. And then we eventually make it down the hall to the bathroom, and there's more screaming, and there's more.
This dude's fighting
There's
demons.
more everything. And this is a confusing case with gender and everything. I don't know this patient from Adam, but there's a lot of male feature.
Yeah.
There's a lot of male features
True.
and there's a lot of female features going on.
Yeah.
And I don't even know in that moment to offer a urinal or a cup. And I know that's going to be the last thing. The last
You
thing
got a
to set that.
50-50 shot.
And I'm just like, here's
Both.
a cup. Here's a cup. You can use that as you want. And I fully expected it to come back at me. And thankfully it didn't. But we had a pretty few tense moments in the bathroom because I couldn't let this person be by themselves. And there was a lot of explosiveness.
So you were just watching?
Oh yeah, full on.
You're training what up to that
Honestly,
one moment?
I was waiting for it to come back at me, and I'm like, I'm going home.
Oh
If
no.
any of us.
No, I'm done.
100%. And we circled back, and the APP was honestly super sweet. They had all they needed from the EMS, and you weren't going to get anything helpful from the patient in that moment.
And a stool
Right.
sample.
And they were like, "Don't worry, I called poison control." And I was like,
Thanks.
"Appreciate it."
You have to stay on hold sometimes for quite a while with poison control. That's no small
I could
feat.
see her just in the room, just
Yeah.
press 1 for more options.
And
I really wish I could tell you that I would have stayed in the room with
Yeah,
you, but
I
You
don't know.
left her?
I can't imagine. Security even backed up, and everybody was looking at me, and
I'd have
Wow.
mumbled something about lots of patients to see. Oh, there's another
Some
ambulance.
bullshit.
I felt it was a memorable experience. And honestly, it wasn't even my assignment. Thank heavens, I was just
Oh,
lunching that
man.
nurse, and man, what a timely.
No, you should
Right.
be like, where the
What a
fuck are
timely.
you?
Man.
Seriously, everyone was.
Guess what you missed?
I'm like, oh boy.
See, that's a good story. I like that.
That's a good story. All right, guys, I'm going
I
to jump
appreciate
in
that.
here. I want to thank everybody on the live stream. If you guys got any value out of this today, and don't worry, guys, we're going to keep talking, but if you got any value out of this today, if it resonated with you, if it encouraged you, the only thing I ask is you subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. Give a 5-star review. That will help a ton. I don't make any money from this podcast and actually pay a fair amount of money to do it. So if you can support the show, that'll be very helpful. If you go to practicalems.com, you can join the email list so you know when all the episodes are coming out. There's an EKG course on there as well if you want to financially support the show. And we'll jump back into the conversation with these folks next time. Thanks, guys.